All right, everybody, welcome into another episode of the College Court Report podcast. That is Friday, January the 12th. Myself, Tyler Bennett, joined again with Ryan Scarfone. Ryan, how are you, bud?
I'm doing well. I'm a little tired, but let's get on with it. Let's talk some college ball. By the way, you should when you introduce the College Court Report podcast, you should kind of lighten up. You should kind of put more oomph into it.
This is who I am. This is what you get. As advertised, no frills, no nothing like that. I was plain Jane as they come. This is what you get. This is what everybody wants to hear.
Bring out your inner broadcasting voice. College Court Report podcast. Something like that.
I said before you should start off with that, but then you got a little gun shy.
But then once I'm on the air, then all eyes on me. Let's go.
Yeah, you don't want to start. It's not how you start, it's how you finish, Ryan.
Exactly. I was mid water swig.
Mid-water swig. You got to rehydrate after your big Call of Duty night last night.
Hey.
Absurd.
It was a tiring night. Hands are a little sore.
Yeah. Killing the imaginary bad guys.
Or just kids around the world.
That's terrible, right?
No, I meant
That's terrible.
Kids that are playing online with me. Don't try to put that on me.
I know what you meant. I know what you meant, but
I'm not killing kids around the world.
You have to let them win. You're killing their hopes and dreams by not letting them win at video games.
I'm playing against kids online.
I know what you meant, but you got to let them win one. You got to boost their self-esteem. Be a role model in the.
Once you step on COD, it's every man for himself.
No. That's why you don't step on COD to begin with. There's only 24 hours in a day, and to spend them playing that, no, I'll pass. Thanks.
And that's why you're watching teams like Belmont and Eastern Illinois.
Priorities.
Well, I'm
#priorities.
But you're the small school guy, so
I am the 351 school guy. They all have predominantly equal weight. Michigan State, they're the top bar. But tied for second.
I know they lost. Hey, did you hear they lost?
I must have missed that one. I don't know.
Hey, and they didn't just lose. They got smacked.
They got spanked by Ohio State. But that was last week. This is a new week. That's in the past. But then they barely beat Rutgers on Wednesday night. But that's in the past.
Oh, that was OT. Hey, Nick Ward had a good game. 17 points.
That should have gone. That should have ended in regulation. Bridges had 2 free throws with 8 seconds left. Only made 1. But a win is a win. Man.
Let's just. I'm gonna pull up Rutgers' schedule real quick. I just wanna. They're 11-7,
yes,
with losses to Florida State.
They had
Minnesota
back-to-back,
and now you guys
back-to-back losses to Hartford.
Oh, sorry,
and Stony Brook as well.
Oh, you beat them by 10 earlier. Okay, I was looking at the
wrong. Beat them by 10.
Yeah, they lost to. Wow, and you only beat them by 4.
Mm-hmm.
Knocked off Wisconsin by 4.
But every season, Michigan State has this stretch of 2 or 3 games where it's questionable at best. And I'd rather them get the close games out now than just run through Big Ten play and then lose in the first round of the tournament again. I don't want to have that 2 out of the last 3 seasons.
To Middle Tennessee.
I don't even bring it up.
Yeah, well, it always seems that Michigan State plays really well, like they did against Notre Dame, where they shot 99% from the field. Everything was going in for them that game.
They are one of the best 3-point shooting teams in the country, though. So.
Oh no, I don't dispute that, but it just seems like everyone plays really good against Notre Dame.
Yeah, you're trying to make fun of me. You guys lost to Georgia Tech last night, or on Wednesday night.
Yeah, well, I guess with Bonzie Colson and Matt Farrell out now, it's
here come the excuses, folks.
Write them down. I'm just saying, if we had Bonzie Colson and Matt Farrell, we would have won that game. But I predicted in my preview, the game was already close with those two earlier in the season, and without them, it's going to be even closer. I predicted a Notre Dame win because Notre Dame has been playing well. They knocked off Syracuse and NC State. But, things happen.
Shit happens.
Played an okay game. Might need to rearrange your starting lineup. I don't really want Torres in the starting lineup. But that's Mike Bray to decide.
That's why he gets paid the big bucks to coach, and we get paid squat all to speculate and predict.
It's not like I don't want Austin Torres. I'm just saying I think maybe we should look at another guy to start speculating, you know?
You need to land a top 100 recruit, like a top 50 guy in the next couple of years for times like this.
Our recruiting class next year, we signed 5 guys, 4 of them 4 stars. We've got 3 guards.
You need to land
1 center.
You need to land a 5-star guy. I know it's easier said than done, but with the amount of success that Notre Dame has had, you think you would be able to land a 5-star guy. Maybe not the top 5 guys in the class or whatever, but I don't know. That's just me.
See, I think the only really 5-star that Notre Dame could land is a guy that, you know, says to Mike Bray, you know, I'm not committing to 4 years, but I'll commit to maybe like 2 to 3, which is okay. And he probably has to be from Indiana and grew up liking Notre Dame. I don't really see them, you know, picking up a guy, a 5-star guy from like California or Florida. It has to be from the state of Indiana.
Yeah, going out of state would be hard for them going top 5 guy, but you know, it could happen, but
just because it's just not who they are. They're not the 5-star in basketball. They're not the 5-star team. They don't really believe in one and dones. They want people that are all in on the university, all aspects of the university.
Well, they can go after Keon Brooks, class of 2019, power forward from Fort Wayne, Indiana, 21st ranked recruit, 5-star guy. He does not hold an offer from Notre Dame. I take that back.
I feel like they don't even know about him yet.
They should know. They're in the state of Indiana for crying out loud.
What's his name
Brooks again? Plays at Northside High School, not to be confused with Southside Secondary School.
Oh, I thought he was from Southside. Okay.
He's a
4-star. On 24/7 Sports, it says he is
24/7 is out to lunch.
4-star. And it looks like your Sparties are going to be picking him up. They have, under all the teams that he has offers from, it says that Michigan State is the warmest when it comes to interest.
Go green.
So get to know him. You didn't even know who he was.
The class of 2019. I'm not looking there. I'm looking at 2018 right now. See, I'm looking 2 years ahead. I ain't got time for this yet. Come on now.
I'm telling you, Notre Dame's 2018 class is sick. It's looking sweet.
Time will tell how that pans out on the court. There's some big shoes to fill next year.
Yeah, next year I predict it's going to be a lot of, you know, they got Matt Farrell leaving, they got Bonzi Colson leaving, Austin Torres leaving. They got a lot of exits. Now they got and because, you know, DJ Harvey was the lone recruit in the 2017 class, I suspect like a lot of new faces getting regular playing time.
Yeah, Mike Bray will have to find a lot of replacement parts, and maybe they find that on the recruiting trail. Maybe they find that in the transfer market, but it'll be
I'll tell you this. Guys like Prentice Hub, Dane Goodwin, either Dane Goodwin or Robbie Camardi will play. Prentice Hub will play. And Nate Leswinitsky, I hope I didn't butcher that name. He's 6'10". He's 100% playing.
Well, with the front court losses, he kind of has to.
Yeah, with Bonzi and Martinez Gebbins leaving too. I forgot about that. So yeah, so a lot of them are going to play. I suspect they're 3-star. They're 6'7", 3-star is going to redshirt. And hopefully Canadian Nikola Jogo will get more playing time. He's starting to get more playing time as the season goes on.
Well, with all the injuries, they only have a short bench to begin with, so they got to roll in guys. And I mean, by process of elimination, Jogo's going to get playing time eventually. So,
Well, he's been known to be a late bloomer, but I always said, like, even if he is a late bloomer, still kind of get him in. There's only so much, like we said, that practice can do. Get him in. Get him start getting familiar with the offense and playing with these guys, or else if you don't play him, next year he's going to come in. He's not going to really have a lot of experience playing in-game with these guys.
No, yeah, you got to get the guys in now while you can, and especially that's what non-conference is for. Get those blowout games in and then get your guys accustomed to everything else and go from there. But last week, we had the big shakeup. 15 of the top 25 teams lost. Led to Villanova retaking number 1, West Virginia at number 2. Busy week in college basketball this week so far as well. You've seen a lot of top 25 teams in action already. What are your thoughts on this, the start of the week so far, Ryan?
We're talking like this past week?
As in like Tuesday, Wednesday, 9th and 10th.
Tuesday. A lot of good games were played, and a lot of like on Wednesday, Texas and TCU. That was a good game. Double overtime, 99-98. That was a really good game. Very sad to hear that their one guard,
Andrew Jones,
diagnosed with leukemia. Hope everything goes well with them. They held up his jersey. I thought that was really awesome. They held up his jersey as they were leaving, and everyone was in tears and special. Well, not, it was good that they were honoring him, but it's just a sad moment. But hope everything goes well.
They played inspired basketball that on Wednesday for sure, and you knew that they weren't going to leave there without a win, so they did everything they could, and Shaka's smart team came out on top, and big game for the Longhorns. And yeah, like you said, it's tough to hear of a sophomore going through something like this, and something a lot of us could never fathom a thought of, but send our prayers out to Andrew Jones and his family as he begins treatment and gets on the road to recovery.
Absolutely. We mentioned Notre Dame losing to Georgia Tech. By the way, Martinez-Gebben, 16 points. Love the way he's been playing.
It's about time he's done something up front.
I know, right?
Don't just be the fifth guy on the floor. Produce. It's about time.
Yeah, that is for sure. Louisville knocked off number 23 Florida State. I wasn't really too sure about Florida State. Like, I mean, last year I knew that they had a great year. Jonathan Isaac on their team after they lost. I didn't think that they would have, as good of a season. They climbed the ranks, but I wasn't really sure about them.
Yeah.
We'll talk about some of these teams in a little bit. They've had some really good starts and see if they're legit. Who else played Tuesday?
Well,
Oklahoma, Texas Tech. That was a pretty good game.
Yeah, I mean, when you get 2 top 10 teams, I think you're guaranteed a good game regardless. But then when you say that, you look at Wednesday and you had Villanova and Xavier 1 versus 10, and Villanova just thumped them by 24 points.
Yeah.
So
absolutely,
it's hit and miss. And then you got Duke, who just absolutely throttled Pittsburgh 87-52. I think Kevin Stallings has turned that team into a joke real quick in Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Now, I got to ask you, what do you think about number 5 Purdue only beating Michigan by 70? Or by 70? By 1 point.
Wow.
By 1 point. 70-69. Relax. 70-69. They only beat them by 1 point. It was at Michigan. What do you have? Does that cause for any concern for Purdue? I mean, Michigan's not the greatest team. They have not really had that great of a year, but
I wouldn't say they're not good, not a good team. I'd say Michigan is probably the 4th best team in the Big Ten. Do I think it's any concern for Purdue? No. Playing on the road in conference play, like I've always said, like it's never the easiest thing to do. And you get games like this where it's a 1-point win, or maybe you lose on the road and people start to overreact. And I don't think it's any cause for concern. I think if anything, it shows that they can win the close games. Like they were up 7 at half, and then Michigan had a chance to win on a jumper from Charles Matthews at the end. And I think to me it shows that Purdue can win the tight games against talented opponents on the road. And it also shows that Michigan is going to be a threat come tournament time in Big Ten and NCAA tournament, because they took the 5th best team in the country to right down to the wire and 1 point game. So do I think it's any cause for concern? No. If anything, it showed Purdue's toughness and ability to kind of overcome the challenges and pass a stiff test on the road and move to 5-0 in conference play.
Well, like I didn't want to say like Michigan's like not the greatest team, but they obviously, when I watched them earlier in the year at the Maui, they didn't play like the team that they usually have been, in the past. I did notice though, and I'm looking at the box score, that when they played earlier in the year, they didn't really have much depth. And I said, they kind of remind me of like Notre Dame, where they don't really have a lot of depth issues, or they have a lot of depth issues. But Michigan actually, in that game against Purdue, they had like the bench contributing 18 points, which is pretty decent. Purdue had their bench contributed 4 points. So I was a little surprised by that, but hey, it's college basketball. Anything could happen.
Well, that was the same with Michigan State too. When they played Ohio State on Sunday, their bench accounted for 4 points.
Ohio State or Michigan State?
Michigan State. Their starters accounted for 60 of their 64 points, and then you're not going to win games when your bench gets you 4 points. So
what's funny? I remember when Michigan State and Notre Dame played. You said Michigan State's got the depth. Tom Izzo can plug in anybody he wants, and wow.
They do have the depth. Don't get me wrong on that, but the depth has to produce. And if your depth is there, you can have depth, but if they're not going to put up any points, then what's the point of having any depth?
Well,
So this bench needs to find their groove and kind of get back on track, or else it's going to be an early departure for the Spartans again. And like against Rutgers on Wednesday, the bench had 8 points. They were a combined 3 of 8 from the floor. All 5 guys saw action off the bench. And they did have 11 rebounds and 5 assists, but 8 points. It's a little iffy. So, and then, well, mind you, Bridges was 3 of 10 from the floor. Winston was 2 of 8. Jackson was 3 of 7. So that was probably one of their worst shooting days of the season, and they still shot 41% from the floor. So I think their starters are doing everything they can. They just need to get a bit more from the bench, and then they'll be back. Right, they'll stay right at the top all season long and be that tournament that everybody thought they'd be.
Are they going to win the tournament?
Tough to tell. They're still a Final Four team in my eyes, but they've got to start finding their groove again and play a little better before I can say that.
I'll tell you this: if they play the way that they played against Notre Dame, there's no one beating them like that. The way that the Michigan State team that I saw play that night, I was really impressed. And if you guys played like that against Duke, you guys probably would have beat them, because Duke's not so hot really anymore. They
have no defense. They've
had a kind of like a dry spell.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. They have to find that groove that they had following the loss at Duke, and not the way they've played the last 2 games. Like, they have a big opportunity on Saturday at home, which we'll touch on a little bit later on too. But I think that's the game they need to really bounce back and get on that right track as they approach March and as they approach conference tournament and want to make a run come tournament time.
I think when you get into conference, I think this is where, at the beginning of the season, it's really easy to get wins against programs that, you've never really seen before. Like, the smaller schools, like when you're playing like Furman, like Duke played Furman. They played Portland State. Like, when you're playing against these teams that you don't usually play, it's so easy to get wins against them because you're not really used to their style of play. Whereas when you start getting into the conference play, I find that's when the games start getting a little closer, because you see these teams year after year. You kind of figure out what their style is. Like Duke knows Syracuse's style, vice versa, because they play every year, a couple times a year. So yeah, some teams right now are only winning, but like some teams that are supposed to be good are only winning by a little bit. And they might lose the game or two, but conference play is obviously a lot harder than non-conference play.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that every conference is tough regardless of who you play, and like you said, everybody's so familiar with everybody else that it makes it tough on a daily basis. So it goes back to Purdue. Like you asked, their loss against Michigan. Do I think like nothing comes of it? You expect these tough games in conference play, and it brings out the best on both sides. And I think it's just good all around for the college basketball world.
Absolutely.
All right, and with the conference play now officially, we're like 3 weeks in for most. We've seen a lot of teams that have kind of surprised people in a sense. One team you mentioned, we've talked about a couple of times already today, Ohio State, who's now 4-0 in conference play. They've got road wins over Iowa, Wisconsin, home wins against Michigan, Michigan State. They've won 3 straight to overall 8 of their last 9. 13-4, 4-0 in Big Ten play. Do you see Ohio State maintaining that success, or do you see them falling off in the next few weeks?
I mean, they've got a pretty manageable schedule in the next couple weeks. Mm-hmm. I mean, Maryland, Rutgers, Northwestern, Minnesota, Nebraska, Penn State, Indiana, Illinois. I mean, and then they're at Purdue. Don't know what Purdue's going to be ranked at that time. They got a pretty manageable schedule. They don't play Michigan State again, so that probably was their toughest game, and they beat them by 16 points.
Let's move on from that game.
That was a good game. At the beginning, I didn't really, since Thad Matta left, I didn't really know what this team was going to be like. And at the beginning of the season, I didn't really, they lost to Gonzaga, Butler, Clemson, who I thought at the time was not that good. So when I saw that loss, I'm like, Clemson, just based on, what happened last year with Clemson, I didn't really think Clemson was that good. So I didn't really think Ohio State was anything special, but Clemson's turned out to be pretty good as well. And they've only really lost to their 4 games that they've lost to were against good teams. So, and to Butler it was 1 point. So I think Ohio State could really do some damage and be a dark horse in the Big Ten.
Yeah, I agree. I think Keita Bates-Diop, he's really developed into a star forward for the Buckeyes in the Big Ten. You mentioned their favorable schedule. Yeah, you could realistically make the case that they go undefeated in Big Ten play until they face Purdue on February 7th. Northwestern on the road, that'll be a tough game. Rutgers, you saw how they played against Michigan State. They're going to battle with anybody regardless of where they stand. So you can make the case that they can go undefeated until they play Purdue, but as we said, Big Ten play and conference play in general brings out the best in every team, and you can spin it and see them losing a couple of games. But as of right now, they're a tournament team. I think they've certainly proven that just in Big Ten play, but we'll have to see if they can avoid any bad losses the rest of the way to teams like Rutgers or Iowa and maintain their strong starts. But you also mentioned Clemson, 14-1, 1 loss to Temple, which is a head-scratching loss because of how bad Temple has been this season. They've rattled off 10 straight wins. They're 19th in the country. They're playing well. I mean, there's nothing you can really say. They've got wins over Florida, NC State, Louisville, Ohio State on their resume. I think they're a team that's really caught a few people off guard as well this season.
Yeah, I thought that they were going to be a bottom half ACC team coming into the season. They have 5 players averaging double-digit scoring figures. Marquise Reed has been playing really well. I've been surprised by how well Clemson's been playing, and when they play Notre Dame when do they play them? In
January 20th.
Yeah, so 4 games from now. That's definitely not going to be an automatic win for Notre Dame. That's gonna be a tough one. I'm looking forward to, like I mentioned, on Saturday. You said we got to pick some games to feature. They weren't part of my game just because I knew that we were going to talk about them. But Clemson versus number 19 Clemson versus number 18 Miami on ESPNU. That's going to be a really good game. I'm really looking forward to that one.
Playing at home too for Clemson, that'll give them a nice boost, and that'll be another resume boosting win, I think, if they can knock off the Hurricanes.
Oh yeah, ESPN has 68.4% chance that Clemson wins according to their basketball power index. So, you think they knock off Miami?
I think so. I think they've proven that they can top quality teams all season, especially in the last 10. Like, they've got wins over Texas Southern. That was by 7, but they're the favorite in the SWAC. Road wins over Ohio State, Boston College, who beat Duke. Home wins over Louisville, NC State, South Carolina, Florida. So they have the track record that their preseason predictions are a little off. And like we said against Purdue with Michigan, Clemson beat Louisville by 5 in overtime at home. That's a confidence-building win, I think, for the Tigers moving forward, proving that they can win those close games and knock off quality teams like Louisville. So I think if they can get past Miami, they'll have a good chance to beat North Carolina the following game, Notre Dame, and I think they could very well be the top contender to Virginia atop the ACC.
Yeah, I think it's about time that Clemson is starting to be good, because I know there's a lot of good teams in the Carolina area, in the Carolina states, but Clemson's a big school. Their football program's obviously very good. Been to the college football playoff, twice, 3 times? No, 3 times.
3 times, yeah.
3 times. They won it 2 years ago. I mean, you'd think that a big school like that would also have a big basketball program. So hopefully this is not just a fad and that it keeps up, because I love, the non-traditional basketball schools starting to become basketball schools as well, in addition to being football schools.
Yeah, and they've done a lot of their damage on the transfer market too, with Marquise Reed and Elijah Thomas coming in from outside schools. So I think for them to continue their success, I think they need to continue to use that transfer market and land those guys who put up big numbers at other schools or maybe don't have the right fit, and really turn them into stars in the ACC. And Clemson is not just a football school anymore. I think the Tigers are a team that's here to stay in the basketball ACC conference for a while.
Oh, absolutely. So switching gears to SEC now, Auburn is having a hot start. In addition to Clemson and Ohio State, Auburn's 15-1 overall, 3-0 in conference play. Do you believe in them?
Well, I think it's more so not do we believe in them. I think it's do they believe in themselves, and I think absolutely they do, especially with the FBI probe that was swirling around Bruce Pearl and his ability to turn Auburn into a winner in the SEC amidst all this. And they have the best record of all teams in the SEC. You can make the case that they are the best team in the SEC right now, with wins over Tennessee, Arkansas, back-to-back wins over ranked teams, and here we are, Auburn's at 22. I don't know, there's just something about Auburn this year. I mean, they've got guys who are ineligible because of the probe, and if you would have said that they're going to be where they are right now with all the off-court distractions they've had, I would have said you're crazy. But they've got 4 guys in double figures. They've got Just 9 guys that have played in at least 15 games, averaging double-digit minutes and average 5 points a game. So they have a rotation that Pearl can rely on, and guys are producing on both ends of the floor. And I think they've really developed into a top contender in the SEC, one that many thought would not happen in the preseason. So I think they were ranked 9th in the preseason poll, and here they are, half a game out of first with a game in hand on Florida. So I think Auburn is another one of those teams that's here to stay this season. They've proven a lot of people wrong. And it doesn't come down, like I said, it doesn't come down to us believing in them. It comes down to them believing in themselves. And they've got all the confidence in the world right now, 13 straight wins. So
averaging 87.2 points per game. That's 11th in the country. That's pretty good. Their schedule, they've got Mississippi State coming up, Alabama, Georgia, Missouri, LSU. Eventually they'll have to play Texas A&M again, who I still think is, I mean, even though they're not ranked, they just had a very tough slate of games. I think that's still going to be a tough game. Always, got to play Kentucky. I know Kentucky's not the Kentucky team we've all been used to seeing, but nonetheless, they're still good. They play Alabama again, Florida. So it's going to be a tough one. I'm interested to see if this is not also a fat. Like I hope it's not, because I love that it's not just Kentucky versus everyone,
Yeah.
It's teams like LSU are becoming decent. Alabama, Auburn, Missouri. So like I like that it's not just Kentucky.
It comes back to all these schools aren't just football schools anymore. Alabama's okay this year. I think the basketball team hasn't lived up to the hype that we thought it would.
Yeah.
But then you've got like Auburn and all these other teams, LSU in the SEC, that are proving that they're not just about football, that they've got a talented basketball program as well who can compete with the best of them. So it's nice to see different teams step up and top that SEC conference, that it's not just Kentucky year in and year out.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, football is where the money's made, but basketball, they can make a lot of money off that. So if you can make money off both, why not? I mean, I'm assuming that every athletic department wants to be good in both basketball and football, just because those are the two biggest money makers. So like I said, I like that these non-traditionals are becoming good. Like even teams like Texas Tech in the Big 12, they're 14-2, 3-1 in conference play. They're another team that's surprising me, in addition to like Auburn and Clemson and Ohio State. They just lost against Oklahoma, but Oklahoma's pretty good themselves. Trae Young's pretty. He's okay.
He's average.
He's okay. He's average.
Talents like him come around every day. So,
but until that Oklahoma game that they lost to, I mean, they had wins against Kansas State, Kansas, Baylor, Nevada, Northwestern earlier in the year. So they're averaging 80 points per game. What do you think of them?
To me, the one game that stands out the most is that road win at Kansas.
Absolutely.
Going into Lawrence, going into Allen Fieldhouse, and leading by 11 at half, winning by 12 in the end. They had 5 guys in double figures. To me, it's the Big 12. It's going to be a grind every single night. And teams are going to win games that they shouldn't win, and teams are going to lose games they shouldn't lose. It's bound to happen. And you could see 7, 8, 9 teams in the tournament from the Big 12 if all goes according to plan for most teams. Keenan Evans is a name that everybody should know across the country, regardless of what team you follow. I mean, he was 4 of 16 against Kansas, but still finished with 15 points. They've got a ton of talent. Chris Beard, I think, is probably the front runner for Coach of the Year in the country. He went from Little Rock to UNLV to Texas Tech 2 off seasons ago in a matter of like 3 weeks, and he's really turned the Red Raiders into a top contender in the Big 12, and I think they like we've mentioned with Auburn and Clemson, I think they're here to stay. And I think Beard has that winning mentality surrounding the program, that vibe. And as we've seen so far in Big 12 play, it's carried out. And with the exception of a road loss to Oklahoma, which, again, we've said it many times already today, winning on the road in conference play isn't the easiest thing in the world. And they've proven that they can beat good teams on the road, so I think that was just a minor blip on the radar.
I mean, if they can survive this tough schedule, I mean, they got to play TCU twice this season still. They're last, and they got to play Baylor and Oklahoma once again, but their last 3 games is against Kansas, West Virginia, and TCU, which I think by the end of the season they all will still be ranked. So that's going to be a very tough slate of games. You're hoping at least to win 2 out of those 3 going into the
Big 12 tournament.
Big 12 tournament. So we'll see if they can keep this momentum going throughout the remainder of the season.
Well, even before those 3 games, you've got Oklahoma at Baylor, at Oklahoma State, before you get to that Kansas, West Virginia, TCU gauntlet, if you will. Then you, Big 12 play, it's a grind every single year, and then you go and throw in the Big 12 SEC Challenge in the end of January, just if things weren't tough enough already. So you sandwich in a road game against South Carolina in between home games against Oklahoma State and Texas. So the Big 12 doesn't play any favorites for anybody, regardless of who you are. So if they can weather that storm, even if they can go 500 over those last 6 games, I think they'll be in good shape moving forwards. And you can already probably say, with the exception of them going winless the rest of the way, that they're a lock for the tournament, I think.
Oh, absolutely. So, we mentioned the big games this weekend. Well, Texas Tech is taking on West Virginia, number 2 versus number 8 on Saturday. Mm-hmm. They're one of my games to look for on Saturday, speaking of Texas Tech. Who else? Who do you have to look forward to this Saturday?
Well, we talked about this before, and you
throw it at me. I dare you.
I made this statement that
throw it at me.
You took the easy way out because you have 3 games on Saturday, 1 on Sunday, 2 are from the ACC, 2 are from the Big 12. Easy way out. I went off the map a little bit with my 3rd game on Saturday and my Sunday game. Saturday started with Michigan at Michigan State.
Okay.
You don't need to say any more than that. Rivalry game. Michigan State's looking to get back on the right track, even though they've slipped past Rutgers and lost Ohio State. They need to find their groove from the start of the season, whereas Michigan looking to top their in-state rival on their home court. You don't need to say any more than that. Alabama, LSU. Alabama, LSU, Colin Sexton, Tremont Waters, 2 freshman guys who are the best in the class. Sells itself, really. And then 3rd one, got to show a little love to the MEAC Conference, Morgan State, North Carolina A&T, front court battle of Philip Carr and Femi Olajobi. You won't find a much better front court battle than that across the country. Regardless conference, call me crazy if you want, I don't care. That's one I'm keeping an eye on as well, because those 2 teams are top contenders in the MEAC Conference, and that's that. What do you got on Saturday, Ryan?
Well, you already know what I have on Saturday just because you were chirping me about the choice of games.
The cop-out route.
The most,
yes.
It's not cop-out. I'm just saying, if I'm turning on the TV to watch college basketball, these are the games that I'm watching.
Let's start with the fact that when we turn on TVs in Canada, there's hardly any college basketball on, so we don't get to pick that very often. It's whatever's on the one channel that shows it.
That's where you stream it.
I'm all about the ethical practices and the legal way to watch games here, Ryan. Come on now.
I'm not the one actually streaming it.
You're helping. You're not.
I'm not helping.
You know what I'm trying to say.
No, I don't.
You're just You're just one of those guys that you're an accomplice to the illegal methods of streaming. You're motivating them. You're motivating them to continue their illegal methods.
If Nico was here, he'd say you're being outrageous.
I stream it too, so I'm just trying to play the devil's advocate.
There you go. Well, like I said, number 8, Texas Tech taking on number 2, West Virginia. West Virginia has climbed the ranks to be
number 2.
It's one of their to number 2. It's one of their. When I saw the top 25 this week, I was like, holy, West Virginia. So, I mean, they've been playing outstanding. Texas Tech has been playing outstanding, so I can't wait to see that Big 12 matchup. I mentioned Clemson, Miami, but I got to go with Oklahoma and TCU. Trae Young is going to drop some buckets on the Horned Frogs, but it's still going to be a close one. I did mention earlier that I think Wake Forest is going to upset number 7 Duke. However, I was looking at Wake Forest. There's their last couple games.
Don't backpedal on a prediction, Ryan. You got to stick with it.
All right, fine. All right, you can hold me to it. Wake Forest will upset number 7
Duke. Is it at Duke?
There you go.
Outrageous.
It is at Duke.
Outrageous
claim. At Cameron Indoor Stadium. They're going to come in
and get thumped by 30.
And they're not going to get thumped by 30. And then, obviously, being the Notre Dame beat writer, number 20 North Carolina is coming to Notre Dame. This is a game that if Matt Farrell does not play, I don't really know if the Irish can win against the Tar Heels. The Tar Heels are, even though they're only number 20 and they've slid down a little bit, they are still a good team. So like I said, Bonzi Colson we already know is not playing, but if Matt Farrell, who they said they're going to try to get him to play for Saturday, if he does not play, it's going to be a tough one for Notre Dame. I don't know if they'll be able to pull that one out, but that is at 6 p.m. on ESPN, so I'll be definitely glued to my computer for that. Or it might even be on TV because it's a prime.
Probably not. It won't be on TV. It's 6 o'clock on a Saturday. You can guarantee Hockey Night in Canada is on at 7 in Canada. Most Canadians don't care about basketball, especially on Saturdays.
Well, we Canadians do. I mean, Hockey Night in Canada doesn't broadcast on TSN, so it could be on TSN or it could be on some of the other channels. Trust me, I've seen.
TSN will be showing curling or some random shit that nobody cares about on a Saturday night.
I've hit a nerve. I've hit a nerve.
Canadian sport networks are ridiculous. I don't care. They are showing curling. They're probably showing the figure skating trials for the Olympics. I don't know. They'll probably show a replay of Wiggins' game when he played at Kansas. Because they're ridiculous. Outrageous.
Well, and you would think more basketball would be on now that, college football is officially over.
You would think so. But it's TSN. Ridiculous.
Wow.
Did what?
I see a nerve popping out of your head.
There's a couple.
Really
why can't they play basketball?
Really
it's ridiculous. It's not that hard, people.
Hey, I hear you.
Saturday? It's Saturday, right? TSN.
Yeah, it's Saturday.
2018 Continental Cup of Curling team competition. Not that hard.
Hey, you nailed it.
TSN2's got soccer. Oh, more curling. Oh, bloopers of the month from December. It's the 11th of January. It's the 12th of January right now. We don't care. Oh, TSN3, curling. TSN4, curling. Oh, no, wow. Sorry, TSN4 is Raptors. TSN5, guess what it is? Outrageous is what it is. See what I did there? See what I did?
What is it? Oh.
But looking at the last day of the week on Sunday, what's your game to watch for Sunday? It's the second
for
ACC
Sunday?
game.
Oh, do you really want to hear it? Even though it's It's a cop-out game. I'm going Virginia versus NC State. NC State knocked off number 1. Were they number 1? No, they weren't number 1. They knocked off number 2 Duke, I believe it was. I think they're number 2. Yes, number 2 Duke. 96-85 after getting thumped by Notre Dame by 30. Who am I going with? No, I'm going Virginia. Virginia's been playing really well. They're ranked number 3. That's a game I'm going to be looking forward to. But we're going to be a little busy on Sunday, Tyler?
Yeah, so I'm going to be watching the Army-Navy game on my laptop.
While doing what?
While sitting on press row at Kinesis. Ryan said I'm not allowed to, but I'm going to do it anyways.
You're there to watch.
I'm there to support college basketball and spread the word.
They're the Golden Griffins, right?
Yes.
We're there to watch the Golden Griffins play.
And the Hawks of Monmouth.
Monmouth?
I don't know. Mon something. Guaranteed I'm saying it wrong the whole time, so I should have called them the Hawks.
Outrageous. But yeah, we're going to be there on Sunday in Buffalo, New York, sitting press side. It's going to be a good game. Who do you think's going to win that one, Tyler?
Kinesis.
You think Kinesis?
No hesitation. No hesitation. Their guards are too good. Isaiah Reese, Malik Johnson, Spencer Foley. Then you've got big Jermaine Crumpton in the front court. Love it. Love it.
Well, I haven't seen Canisius play at all this year. Or
that's outrageous.
Or, I don't
You've got their poster from last season right behind you right now.
That's last season, but I don't know what they've been up to, but I'm looking forward to watching them play. When I saw them last year against, it was UT Arlington, I believe.
Wasn't it UT Martin?
It was UT Martin. There's a lot of UTs out there.
I wasn't even at the game, and I know who you saw.
But it was a good game, so I'm looking forward to another good one. I'm going Canisius as well. I'm going to jump on the bandwagon, but we'll bring out a lot of good piece of content for that game, which will be posted on collegecourtreport.com.
And if you want a refresher before we go, Ryan, I'll write the preview on Saturday. You can refresh yourself on the way to Buffalo, New York. You can read up on it and be a little studious in the car as we make our way to the Kessler Athletic Center. I don't know how to pronounce it either. The CAC. That's what they call it.
Are we going to be doing any audio, digital content for this one?
You have to check back in next week and find out. Got to leave them wanting more.
A little mystery there.
We do have interviews set up with the 2 Canadians on the roster. So be sure to check out that. One from Whitby, one from Sherbrooke, Quebec. Neither of us speak French. We're going to try and do it en français, but to no avail. Ryan doesn't know French, so. And I'm only 28% fluent in French according to my little language learning app, so I'm not quite there yet.
I've never heard you speak French.
Because I'm only 28% fluent, and I haven't got to the comfort level of speaking it in public yet.
I'm probably minus 28.
Probably haven't done it in like 2 weeks, so.
You kill me.
I try my best. But be sure to check out that on Sunday. Follow us on social media for updates throughout the Kinesis Monmouth game from Buffalo, New York. The links to our Twitter accounts will be in the description below. We'll have the content out. It's kind of scattered through next week. We'll space that out for you, give you something different every day. But for that, enjoy the games this weekend. Let us know on Twitter what games you're watching. And we will chat with you as well. I'll chat with you on Monday. Ryan and I will be back again next Friday, maybe Wednesday, if Nico's not around again. Who knows?
Over under 50%.
He won't be there.
He's
doing his thing at the G League Showcase, so all the best to him. He's going through to Saturday with that, and I'll chat with you Monday. We will, like we said, it'll be Kinesis on Sunday, so let us know, and we'll chat with you then. Cheers.
Cheers.